that it all shows up, but it does. Okay. Now there's another thing when you talk about, okay, if Mary Magdalene is the whore part of this, the prostitute part of this, that whirling energy, then what about the fact that also on page 31 you see this viper? The material I gave you, page 31, you see the viper or the serpent, which, if you look up viper and look down at the right part of viper, it says to give birth. So there, that really we're having an interesting thing here. See? So now let me show you one other thing. Mary Magdalene, we're kind of, I've looked in the Christian dictionary and they said it is absolutely terrible to consider that some people think that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. I mean, no, there was no woman. There wasn't even, this person didn't even exist. Okay? It didn't even exist, this woman. These are all mystical, allegorical tales of consciousness and the mind being written so that you can find these things. That's why Jesus is given the words they seek. Find. You have to be a little bit adult to understand these things. And so when you look at, here is Mary Magdalene, who we're tagging with this word whore. She's the first one to get to the tomb of the vault, which is the fornix, which is the place of fornication. Actually, in Rome, the places where the prostitutes used to ply their trade in the underground places were called fornicatus. That was the name of the place. Okay? But let me show you something. Mary Magdalene, look at page 57. You just got that today. And look at the very bottom of the page. And look at the word Magdalene. Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, considered identical with the reformed prostitute. And then it says a reformed prostitute, and a Magdalene is also a house of refuge or reformatory for prostitutes. See? So then all of these words interconnect, and you're getting an idea now why she's the first one at the fornix. And she is also connected with the viper, the serpent that swings and turns and so forth and so on. And this is what you're supposed to do when you go through all of these things, to say, gee, what is this all about? Okay? So now, what we have to do as adult people who are exploring and thinking about things, we have to totally abandon any concerns about prostitution. That's silly. These are only words. You know, I like to get George Carlin up here. So these are words. They're just words to explain things to you. They're used in metaphysical ways to explain truths to you. Is nobody a prostitute in any of this business? Let me be the first to tell you, I don't know, and I know this is hard because we don't want to offend our cult leaders. Do you know that Jim Jones' cult leaders, those people that follow him would never offend him? David Koresh, you wouldn't offend David Koresh. And Mr. Applewhite, my God, these people died rather than offending. But I'll tell you something, the same thing goes with the cult leaders here. And may I tell you this, and I glorify God, and I reach up to the universe and to all the stars, okay? God never killed anybody. Jesus is a great living expression of life, and the crucifixion is an astronomical phenomenon that occurs within us to bring us out of the pits of associating with these crazy people up into a realm of higher consciousness. Physical crucifixion never happened. But if you go out and you tell those people, you will totally upset the cult leaders of this cult. Oh, it's okay to talk about Mr. Applewhite and his cult, or Mr. Jones and his cult, or Mr. Koresh and his cult, because our cult doesn't like their cult. But you don't talk about our cult. But I do. So in addition to the alluring, voluptuous woman, we have Mary, who is the virgin of the Koran. So when we've looked up and we've seen the relationship of the dark-eyed woman, the alluring woman, but we've seen the virgin, one of the things I want you to think about, let's get away from the, well, her is also, you know, we've got the connection. We've taken care of the whore part of this program, so now we can go to the nice, pretty part of the virgin part of the program, which is Mary, pretty Mary. the virgin. Okay. And one of the things, we're not going to spend too much time here, but we will down the road. One of the things that you want to understand about consciousness, and see, when you come in and you are operating here in your meditation, then it is that feminine serpent that moves up through the virgin consciousness, and then Mary takes you up to where? To Bethlehem. And how does she get? She takes you on the donkey, on your stubborn nature, into Bethlehem, into the house of the hippocampus, the house, the place of the hem, where the Christ is born. That's the beautiful part of this story, see. So when we look at that, I want you to understand something. You don't have to go there, but in Luke 1:30, Mary, the virgin, receives instructions of the birth coming within from the angle of light, the angel of light, Gabriel. And I always wondered, Gabriel is the talking angel. Anything is to be said, Gabriel shows up. Gabby.
Oh, wow.
What are they going to do there? They're just going to sit around and gab. Where do these words come from? But they're nice. It's interesting. Okay, but anyhow, she becomes the one who receives from the angle of light, which is the electromagnetic field, from, and we'll talk about that in a minute, of this great thing that is going to happen within, which is the birth of the Christ in Bethlehem, which we understand now to be the place of the hymn. Okay, now, what happens then? As the serpent winds its way. Look, you people go to a doctor. I go to a doctor. We have a very good doctor. We enjoy going to the doctor. Doctor keeps us well and all this kind of business, and that's wonderful. But when you go to your doctor and you think of her, the serpent, whirling around the spine, up, look on the lapel of your doctor's coat, and he has the picture of her. It's the caduceus. That is your spine. And the serpent winding up, and the serpent winding down. The DNA, the caduceus. And that's what it is. And it's Mary. And it can be either the prostitute, but remember, Mary Magdalene is only a prostitute, only a whore to your life until the 7 devils are cast out, until the 7 chakras are open. Then she becomes the one who comes to the fornix, to the tomb, to see a man who has risen. That's good. That's good stuff. So she comes to the fornix, Mary Magdalene. And what she sees is Amen has left the fornix. Now remember, as you look in 16b of your material, you have a structure in your brain called Ammon's horn. And remember, Ammon is the ram head god. And we found a couple weeks ago that you bring down the wall surrounding Jericho by taking up the ram's horn, which means the hippocampus of the brain. See? And remember, too, that we understand that the hippocampus of the brain is the place of memory and the place of the location of the RAM. And so now we've all realized that we have a computer up here that doesn't need more religion but needs more RAM. We need more memory. And when we get that RAM, when we get that memory, we'll start to understand, we'll start to realize these things of who we are, where we came from, who is, quote-unquote, God, and all of these kind of things. But this was the interesting thing. So, and then we found out also that in the book of Revelation, Jesus is called Amen. So even our born-again friends really can't have any trouble with this, but that's the way it is. It's inside their head too. But anyhow, Amen has left the fornix, and where has he gone? Because she has come. She is no longer the whore. She is now the virgin, and she has come winding upward, up stria pinealis, to the fornix of the brain. And what is the energy that is in the fornix of the brain? According to your Stedman's Medical Dictionary and the material that you have, it's for Amen. Right? And you have that in there. I forget what's on page 10 or where it is. So she comes up, and she comes to the fornix of the brain, and she finds out that Amen has left. Where did he go? Oh, he's gone. And so what do we think of? What do you and I think of? Oh, she came to the tomb, and the stone was rolled away, and there was a big fat angel sitting on the tomb with a white sheet in his hand, and said, what the hell are you looking for, lady? What are you looking for? So, now we're going to grow up, And we're going to become mature. And we're going to realize that what had happened here was an angle of light had caused an activity in the fornix, or the vault of our brain, and had opened energy so that our men, who was entombed in our fornix, could now move throughout the brain. See, it doesn't make any difference how old you are. It doesn't make any difference how sick or debilitated you are. If the angle of light causes the stone to roll away, it's a whole new ballgame. Okay. It's all new. And now you're finding, like, all of these documentations that we've given you from the hospitals, and Al's talking about USA Today and so forth and so on. So here she comes, and she finds that a man has left the fornix. A man has moved. Where? Where did he go? And she's quoted as saying, what have they done with him? I don't know where he is. Where the hell did he go? Okay, so you go on page 804. And he specifically told you where he was going to go. If you look on page 804, and you look at Matthew, and in Matthew chapter 26, Matthew chapter 26, okay? And Matthew chapter 26, verse 32, there are the words as to where he was going to go. He said, look, after I am risen, I will go before you into Galilee. Right? I will go before you into Galilee. Okay, fine. So we have come up to the fornix. He is gone. See, the energy now has caused the fornix to open, and Amen is now moving into Galilee. So we have to find out where Galilee. So let's look at page 56 of the material that I gave you. You look at page 56 of the material that I gave you, and you'll find on page 56 of the material that I gave you, about midway down where it says Matthew 27, before you go into Galilee, look over to the right, because I clipped out of a Christian dictionary the fact that the word Galilee means circuit. It means circuit. Whoa, wow is right. I mean, do you realize that God and all of these kooky angels, or whoever these people up there, are sitting up there saying, you know, I think somebody's getting onto this stuff?